Good morning, Mr. Shapiro. How are you?
Good. Good to be with you.
As well. So thank you for joining us. I want to ask you a few questions about the role of the Trump administration in the peace process between Israel and the Palestinians. And really the main thing that's making the news recently is Trump's statement on Jerusalem and how the Palestinians are saying, okay, we're done, no more negotiating. What do you think of that statement, and how will that affect the situation on the ground?
I strongly agree with the decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. It is Israel's capital. In all the years I served as the U.S. ambassador at our embassy in Tel Aviv, I traveled to Jerusalem almost every day to do affairs of state with the Israeli government in their offices. Our presidents and secretaries of state stay in Jerusalem when they come. So treating Jerusalem as Israel's capital is something we do functionally anyway, and obviously West Jerusalem is going to remain Israeli and Israel's capital under any future circumstance. So that decision on its own merits, and even the decision to relocate the U.S. embassy there, is correct. What was unfortunate, though, was that the president didn't place that decision in the broader context of the strategic objective that he is trying to achieve. I believe he actually spent most of 2017 sending his envoys, Jared Kushner and Jason Greenblatt, around the region to try to promote what is really clearly a two-state solution, although they use slightly different words. And by failing to put the Jerusalem decision in that context, it obviously made it very difficult for the Palestinians to absorb. They wouldn't have been happy about it anyway, but at least captured as part of the broader objective where every side can see some of the benefits and the aspirations they will see fulfilled, as well as some of what they will have to compromise on, would have made it somewhat it would have made it at least somewhat easier for them to absorb. There was a very strong Palestinian overreaction. Obviously, President Abbas gave a terrible speech, which I think signals his personal end in participation in efforts to negotiate two states. And now the Trump administration has to find a way to help even other Palestinian leaders sort of climb down from the limb they're on before they have a serious prospect of getting negotiations launched.
And you just said right now that Abbas's speech signaled his end. Do you see the next person coming in? Who do you see will take over from Abbas? He's not going to live forever.
Yeah, the question of Palestinian succession, of course, bedevils almost everybody in the region. It's really, I think, the biggest black box in the Middle East, and I don't really know Palestinians or Israelis or other Arab leaders who really feel like they have a handle on it. What we hope, of course, is that Palestinian leaders will emerge who will understand that the Palestinian national interest would be better served by an approach that clearly demonstrates willingness to accept Israel's legitimacy and permanence, recognition as a Jewish state, clearly grapples with this very serious and legitimate security requirements that Israel would have in a two-state solution, clearly understands that refugees are not going to return en masse to pre-1967 Israel, and that kind of leadership could present itself as a real partner, but also one that could really achieve very important things for the Palestinian people. It would have to, of course, be met by Israeli leadership that would be prepared to make a reasonable territorial compromise and settlement construction in areas that will clearly be part of a Palestinian state, understand that the Palestinians will also need to have a capital in portions of East Jerusalem for their state. So a Palestinian leadership that can demonstrate what it can give can, I think, put itself in a position to get support from the United States, from other regional actors, and from a larger part of the Israeli public to actually resume a negotiation in that direction. But it would be a very, it's not certain that that's what kind of Palestinian leadership will emerge, so it's a big question.
And you served under the Obama administration as the ambassador here to Israel, and the administrations are very, very different. There was a lot of talk about how Obama abandoned this region in a way, and do you think that the Trump administration now is coming in, he's saying new ideas, new eyes, new ears? Do you think that's going to bring America back to the Middle East?
Well, I disagree with the contention that the Obama administration abandoned the Middle East. I think the Obama administration was very present and a good ally to Israel, where we had a tremendous security cooperation and many breakthroughs in technology and assistance and training and intelligence, even as we also had some disagreements. And I think we were a good ally to others as well. And of course, President Obama launched the counter-ISIS campaign that the Trump administration carried forward and has largely completed in Syria and Iraq. That said, I think both administrations have, to a degree, reflected a mood of the American public. That after a decade of very costly war in Iraq and Afghanistan is not eager to see major American military interventions in the region. I don't think there's much difference actually between the Obama administration and the Trump administration. It's one thing to take on ISIS and largely from the air while we support partners on the ground. It's quite another thing to have a major deployment in Iraq or Syria or elsewhere, and I don't think there's much appetite for that. So we can be good allies. We can support our friends. I believe both administrations have done that, and the Trump administration can continue to do that. But I think everybody in the region also needs to understand that the era of major American military presence and interventions on the ground is probably something that we're not going to see in the future.
I just want to ask just a few more questions going back to the negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. We spoke just before to Gilad Shaw, who said that Egypt has to play a central role in the reconciliation between Fatah and Hamas in the Palestinian arena itself. Do you think that Egypt should also play a central role alongside the Americans in a peace process between Israel and Palestinians?
I think they could be a critical partner. Obviously, they have sympathy for Palestinian aspirations, and this Egyptian government has very helpfully put additional pressure on Hamas and given greater backing to Fatah, which is obviously the part of the Palestinian political spectrum that has a better chance to be a partner for peace. And the fact that President Sisi has demonstrated his A, commitment to the peace treaty with Israel, and B, his commitment to combating extremists both within Egypt and in Gaza makes him someone Israelis trust, and he can be a partner to that. I don't think there's any substitute for a U.S. leadership role, but to have the U.S. in the leadership role with partners like Egypt and Jordan and Saudi Arabia and the Europeans as well is still obviously everybody has something they can contribute to that effort.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.